And we're going to remove those blind spots from your business that are slowing you down, and ultimately just strip away every roadblock possible and allow you to focus on the thing you care about, which is building a relationship with your customer. Remember I talked about that a few minutes ago? What is legacy CRM technology have to do with actually customer relationships? It doesn't seem like a whole lot, but the future absolutely does.
Welcome to UpTech Report. This is our Applied Tech series. UpTech Report is sponsored by Tetley. Learn how to leverage the power of video at terraleap.io. Today, I'm very excited to be joined by my guest, Clint Oram, who's based in San Francisco. He's the co-founder and chief strategy officer at SugarCRM. Excited to have you on, Clint. Good to have you on.
Thank you. That's me. You bet.
Now, you actually helped found SugarCRM in 2004, one of the first two developers and architects. But the whole goal of SugarCRM is enabling companies around the world to turn their customers into raving fans, as we were talking about just a second ago.
Hashtag raving fans.
Hashtag raving fans.
Got to be relevant.
Should be a theme, right? That everyone is trying to do it. Now, today, you are focused on leading the strategy and acquisitions for the company, though you've played every role throughout the company over the years, which I'm excited to dig into later in our Founders Journey series. But in this particular case, I'd love to talk about the concept of the role of CRM, what it was and where it is now today.
Oh, you bet.
Take me back first. When it began, what was it then, the focus of the CRM?
Well, let's grab some popcorn, curl up around the fire, and let me tell you a little story here, right? So if you go back into the history of what today is called customer relationship management, it all really started back in the early 70s in airline call centers. The idea of being able to call into an airline and change your bookings, make a booking, things like that. And they developed this idea of call centers. And so for many years, the term customer relationship management was really connected to call center technology through the 70s and 80s across various different technology platforms. It was in the mid 90s that just this brilliant man named Tom Siebel left Oracle, created a company called Siebel Systems, and started delivering software for field salespeople to help salespeople keep in better contact with their customers. And at that point in time, the term customer relationship management got really attached to what we now call Salesforce automation. So at that point in time, it was really around helping sales reps manage their day, contact lists, tracking their deals, who they talked to last, things like that. And with the advent of laptops in the early 90s, that really stimulated that industry and launched it forward. A few years later, and by the way, contact center technology is still there, customer service technology is still there, but really separate worlds. Right. And then you fast forward a few years and the internet comes about, and this wonderful thing called spam, not just a breakfast food anymore, starts inundating us. And that really kind of kicked off the idea of, well, if a spammer can do it, me as a company, I can use email to engage with my customers and prospects. And so these three side-by-side industries, marketing automation, Salesforce automation, customer service automation, really started taking off at that point in time. And the term CRM was still pretty attached to the sales solutions out there. Fast forward several years, the analysts in the industry consolidated all together under the CRM banner, sales, marketing, customer service. But still a lot of people connected CRM in their heads to Salesforce automation. And that's actually been a little bit of the legacy around SugarCRM. When we started the company back in 2004, we planned to name the company just Sugar. We loved the term sugar. And then we got our first lawyer, and our lawyer said, and we tell the lawyer, let's go trademark that term. He says, oh, sugar's hard to trademark. You should add something onto it. Oh, okay, what is that? And so we added on CRM. And in our minds, it was to convey the meaning of that fully integrated suite of software, helping you to manage every step of a customer's journey. And but over time, it really still got connected to the Salesforce automation idea. And we ended up really succeeding in that area. And so for a long time, many of our customers thought of SugarCRM as equaling, of course, they're all about sales software. As we've grown as a company and as we've matured and our customers have grown and matured, They now look to us to help solve that full front office suite that I talked about a moment ago. And so we've evolved beyond just sales technology to that full suite. And to me, it's a little bit of going back to home, because that was our original vision, was the full suite. And we just got really focused for about a decade on sales technology. So there's a little bit of a primer on the term CRM. Yeah.
That is powerful. Just an amazing story. Just a short amount of time. I missed my popcorn there for a second, but it's interesting to that full circle, as you say, coming back to the full suite. So where you are today is your role also as a strategy officer and acquisitions. Is what do you see is kind of going forward from here, the value and the focus of why you would have a CRM and the role of it?
Well, there's so much innovation happening. So let's talk about it from a technology perspective for a second, because it's fun to talk about tech, right? And if you think about the evolution over the last 10 years of mobile technology, social technology, cloud, most recently artificial intelligence, all of these technologies are condensing together into what we call a phone today. But I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and my original definition of a phone doesn't quite match today's definition of a phone, right? But this wonderful computing device in the palm of our hands is this new frontier in front of us. And I think we frankly have only just started scratching the surface on. Think about the way you think about your technology today. I think if you're like me, you want it to guide you through the day. Tell me what to do next. Tell me something I didn't already know. What should I be focusing on? What am I missing? Who is this person I'm talking to right now, right? What's the background on this person? And, these are the types of things that I think we're all looking for from technology. And that's really propelling the CRM industry into its whole next phase of turning CRM from a tool where historically you typed in a bunch of information to help your manager manage you more effectively. By the way, where's the customer relationship in there, right?
Right.
To now a tool that helps me work with my customers in a much more intelligent and effective way than ever before. So that personal assistant, that's where I see CRM technology going ahead of us.
That's a powerful visual and also analogy to connect to on the consumer side of having your phone. Yeah, I look at it, tells me what next I'm to do, gives us context and visualization of the world around us. Same in the business side, being able to understand where our customers are and be able to interact with them. That's powerful. And I feel like you guys recently had an acquisition of a company that's really propelling you forward into this direction.
Yeah, last year we had the fortune of getting teamed up with a company called Node.io. So some really brilliant people when it comes to predictive learning side of artificial intelligence. We could have a whole discussion about artificial intelligence and what the robots are coming. The robots are coming. No, not quite, right? That might be the distant future ahead of us, but it's more about algorithms and such. And in the world of artificial intelligence, as applied to business topics, kind of breaks into two areas. One area being machine learning, predictive analytics. Give me a good sense of what's going to happen next. And the other area being what's called natural language processing or conversational intelligence, conversational analytics. Basically, think Siri, think Alexa, that type of thing. And both of those are artificial intelligence under the broad banner, but two very different disciplines. Our friends at Node brought us the predictive analytics and machine learning capabilities, and we're partnering up very closely with Amazon for the conversational analytics side of things. All that cool technology that powers Alexa. That's what's coming in front of you with Sugar.
How does that play out then? Can you give me, if I'm a salesperson, I'm in there, what is that going to, my everyday work life going to look like using this type of abilities?
Well, when things are working well with CRM technology, you're getting inundated with new leads. You're context switching across customers super quickly throughout the course of the day. You're trying to keep track of all of those meeting notes and what was said last and what are the action items. And in the end, you're trying to take as a salesperson, you're looking at your overall book of business and you're trying to deliver some predictability to your leadership around you so that they can do business planning around how much revenue is coming in. A lot of moving parts, a lot of masters in there, your customer, your manager. your calendar, all these things driving you through the day. And that's ultimately what we're helping to people sift their way through so that they can find the most valuable things to focus on next.
I feel like I've heard from salespeople that the CRMs or those types of tools are a burden, like having to manage them and keep them updated. And how do you respond to that?
That's the dark underbelly of CRM, no doubt. Yeah.
Is that going to ever change? Is that going to just?
Well, that's what exactly I'm talking about. How about imagine as a salesperson, your notes for the meeting you just had, you dictate into the phone, right? Mm-hmm. You just say it. Or even better, what if the system's monitoring your email in the background and saying, hey, did you follow up with this customer? Right? You said that there was an action item to be done. Has it been done? So help the person go through their day. Prompt them on what to do next. That's our vision of where CRM tech, frankly, all business technology is moving towards this path. And so that's my promise to all of my fellow salespeople out there, that we're going to take away that burden of busy work, and we're going to remove those blind spots from your business that are slowing you down, and ultimately just strip away every roadblock possible and allow you to focus on the thing you care about, which is building a relationship with your customer. Remember I talked about that a few minutes ago? Mm-hmm. What is legacy CRM technology have to do with actually customer relationships? It doesn't seem like a whole lot, but the future absolutely does.
Getting back to the basics, or back to the root of the purpose of it. For AI in general, there's been a lot of focus and energy on it, and sometimes it can be a lot of
little fear.
Jargon. Yeah,
well, there's a lot of jargon out there, but I've also been hearing a lot more fear and uncertainty as people are asking the question: is this going to take away my job? Right?
Yes. Am I still going to have a role, or is it going to do everything for me? Where do you see? Let's talk about this for a second. Then the balance between how far will AI and the tools around us, the technology, play a role, and where will us as humans and individual salespeople be always our role will be? Where is the balance?
Well, you're asking that question to a classic sci-fi nerd. So I am a child of the 80s. I grew up on Star Wars. I remember standing in line in 1977 for the first Star Wars episode, right, or the fourth, depending on where you stand in canon, nice. Right? Yeah. And C-3PO, quoting out all these statistics to Han Solo, and Han Solo saying, "Don't quote me statistics," all that kind of stuff. That tension between the humanity side of life and the technology side of life, that's actually a very age-old tension in popular media, science fiction, fiction as a whole. It's not a new thing. And we've been struggling with this idea of how do we effectively harness technology to help us as opposed to undermine us, if you will. And this is a very popular topic right now, of course, as Mark Zuckerberg stands in front of Congress and he does all of his subpoena, what's the word I'm looking for, depositions and such, as he talks about where all this is going. I'll tell you where I stand on this, right? And I've actually had this discussion a few times with other folks. When in the world of science fiction, I believe in the future of Star Trek, not the future of Skynet, Terminator, right?
Yes.
Star Trek, not Skynet. And what I mean by that is I see technology ultimately as a tool to help us, to guide us. There are traps in there, no doubt about it. But I personally am not worried about technology taking away jobs. I'm thinking about technology. It might take away old jobs, right? Let's be very fair and candid to this. Yeah. We can't just sugarcoat over this. If you look back across the history of technology and the Industrial Revolution, a lot of jobs were lost to automation. A lot of manufacturing jobs were lost to the assembly line, if you will. And you can play that story forward year after year after year. And you think about in all the service jobs of the 70s and the 80s and how they got ultimately streamlined and made more efficient with technology, and there's fewer of those jobs. But what I think from my perspective, is all that opens up new frontiers ahead of us. So old jobs will go away, new jobs come into position. We're leveraging technology to ultimately deliver more value to our customers more efficiently, more effectively, with a specific goal of improving that overall customer experience, so that the customer walks away and says, that was easy. That was awesome. I really like working with that company. They made my life easier. That's what we're trying to do. And along the way, yeah, some old jobs might get disintermediated, but trust me, new jobs are right there on the horizon.
Right there. I love that outlook and perspective. Star Trek, not Skynet. And I also heard the stat recently that when the internet came along, for every job it took away, 2.6 jobs were added, or something to that effect.
There you go.
It's, however technology plays that role.
That's exactly the case.
Now, when it comes to the using of machine learning and AI, often it's been relegated to enterprise. Just the largest corporations and their ability to take advantage of that. Is that still staying in that space where it just
that's ancient history, right?
Okay.
You're describing the world of a decade ago and even further. In fact, that was one of the core reasons of why we started SugarCRM, was that customer relationship management technology as a whole was really the purview of large enterprises with large budgets, because the software was extremely expensive, was frankly very fragile, was complicated to deploy, complicated to find. And in 2004, it was all about open source. And we launched SugarCRM as the first commercial open source software company out there that was delivering CRM applications. And it really drove us on the first 10 years of our journey. Along the way, frankly, open source became less of a topic and cloud became the focus, and open source became the enabling technology to the cloud. But I think what you've got across that whole view there is technology is becoming more and more accessible every day. Again, think about your phone. I think the real game changer wasn't so much the internet, really wasn't so much the cloud. To be honest, the real game changer in my mind was the iPhone 3 in 2008. To me, that's when the world changed, because everybody around the world had this supercomputer compared to 1965. You have this supercomputer, more compute horsepower than what set the man to the moon, right, in the 60s. You have this supercomputer in your hand, and the background technology of the cloud and open source and everything else around it just drove things forward. So no, the CRM technology is not the purview of just enterprises anymore. Every company can leverage very powerful predictive analytics. With Sugar customers, every one of our customer gets predictive analytics built right into the application. It's not a special add-on. You don't have to pay more. It's part of the core package.
Help me understand when it comes to that predictive analysis being able to come into play, because often it's enterprise are using it because they have so much data, right, that they're able to pull and be able to provide those predictions. How does it work when you don't have as much data, or is it you have to just wait until you have enough?
Well,
data?
Isn't the world changing? There's a huge amount of data out there, right? Even small businesses are awash in data in a way that they never were before, and even more so, data about companies and even about people is readily available out there. So we have a product called Hint that allows you to get access to all of that demographic information about companies out there. So part of how our predictive analytics is powered is not just the data that you collect, but all the data that other companies collect about the companies that you work with. Little bit of a fine line to walk in there when it comes to the privacy topic, no doubt about it. And we walk it extremely diligently, and we're very, very thorough to make sure that every piece of data that we collect is data that should be and can be collected in a legitimate way. But what you get behind that is the ability to power predictive analytics without having to rely solely on the data that you've collected as a small business. And again, I'll point out the amount of data that even the smallest of businesses collect today compared to 10, 15, 20 years ago, it's I don't know what, 10x more, 20x more, a lot.
It's only escalating from here. It's the real need or requirement is managing that data or curating it to get what you need at the right time, the right place, which is what you're focused on, it sounds like.
Right.
For those out there that are kind of looking ahead, looking for the future, what can you share of what you're excited about, both with what's happening at SugarCRM, but also the industry at large of where we're headed? Anything you can share from your perspective and insights?
Yeah, you bet. So when it comes to the tools that we're delivering to help marketers be more effective and salespeople more effective and customer service people more effective, you're going to see a lot more along the lines of the artificial intelligence capabilities I just described. So we just acquired the company late last year. We just released our first new capabilities. We've got a whole roadmap ahead of us that has more and more coming. It's very exciting. So imagine being able to essentially focus your company's energies on the right leads, the right deals, the right customers, the customer who's most likely to churn in the next 60 days, the deal that is most likely to close in the next 60 days, the prospect who's most likely to want to start talking to you in the next, 60 minutes, right? Because prospects have very short attention span. That's what we've just been delivering over the last couple months, and we're completing that whole rollout right now. Coming ahead of us, think about all those email and phone conversations with your customers and being able to pull out the sentiment of those customers. Is this a happy conversation? Is this an unhappy conversation? Is it a neutral conversation? How do that sentiment with all the other data that you're collecting turn into a churn prediction score, right? Or a reference prediction score, right? On the other end of the spectrum. So think about all these new tools to help your average marketer, salesperson, customer service agent deliver a truly exceptional customer experience to their customers. That's all happening right now. This is real. This is practical. This is being delivered as we speak. If I were to forecast ahead into the future, I envision a world where you do almost no typing at all when it comes to your relationships with your interactions with customers. You're not clicking buttons, selecting drop-down fields. You're just doing business with the customer. And the system in the background is prompting you, based upon the conversation that just happened with the customer, would you like to change the likelihood of this deal closing or the next stage? Or what are the action items that need to, the system's prompting you? And then with a simple voice response or a gesture, you're telling the system what needs to happen next. And you get out of the world of thinking about managing CRM data, which I will argue too many customer-facing professionals have to spend too much time thinking about data and structure and drop downs and all these other things. And they just wanted to get business done, right? And the customer in the background, by the way, doesn't care at all about the system that you have to fill out. They just want their questions answered. And that's where we want to focus. And so that's what I think we're enabling more than ever. And I see a very bright future ahead of us.
Can I put it in a phrasing that you're almost wanting to humanize the data management side so that the computer just simply talks to you and you talk back to it and you don't have to enter it as data manually?
Yeah, I think you're reading over my shoulder because we've been working on some language around this. How about this? Let's try this one on for size. Automate the mundane and humanize the exceptional.
Oh,
yeah.
Automate the mundane, humanize the exceptional.
Yeah, that's what I want to see happen in front of us. And that comes back to AI and why AI and why is AI valuable, right?
And I'd kind of given the mention a little bit earlier that there has been a lot of hype and around the term AI for a while. Often it's just some automation, but it sounds like when you start to combine the many components that simple AI algorithms here all together into something larger, that's where our dream of in sci-fi an AI should do. How are we getting there? Are we close to? Not I'm not talking about general intelligence, but the concept of an AI, like on Star Trek, he would speak to the computer on board and they would make a request and they would understand. Mm-hmm. Are we getting closer to that?
Certainly in the case of voice activated question response. I mean, we live that world with Alexa and it's kind of choppy, right? how many of us, by the way, as each time I say the word Alexa, I'm kind of looking for Alexa to pop up in the background and start saying something to me, right? Kind of getting there. It's not bad. It's still a little choppy. It's certainly not fluid. And if you stray out of very prescribed conversational constructs that the machine, I'm sorry, Clinton, I do not know what you just said, right? That sort of thing. So we're getting there, but it's early days. And again, by the way, let draw my analogy. I'll take an analogy back to the auto industry, right? So how long have I hesitate to call them phones, right? Mobile phones have been around forever, but these supercomputers that we have in our hands, how long has that been around? Less than 15 years, right? Less than 15 years. Think about where the auto industry was 15 years ago compared to today. It's rapidly evolving. There's so much coming ahead of us, and I'd argue the same thing is for a lot of the voice activated artificial intelligence constructs. So to come back to your original question, the voice response, it's practical, it's real, it's got some room for improvement. But I'll come back to that other analogy that I talked about, Han Solo talking with C-3PO, right? And I'll put out a couple terms from some books I've been reading, some sci-fi books I've been reading on this topic: sentient artificial intelligence and non-sentient artificial intelligence, SAI and NSAI. I think we're well on the path to NSAI, non-sentient artificial intelligence, where we have, and it's in today's day and age, I think we move beyond the robot analogy of C-3PO, but the idea that an NSAI can participate in helping us smooth out and streamline our days, that's coming, absolutely. And I see that being very much a real part of my kids' generation, right? So I've got two teenagers, and their business life, I think, is going to, in their 30s and 40s, it's going to absolutely be well augmented by NSAI. Sentient artificial intelligence, we're not there. C-3PO is not coming to take, or R2-D2, right? Because we all liked R2-D2 better than C-3PO. R2-D2 is not coming to take over your job. It's not happening. Not in our lifetime, at least.
I appreciate the distinction between the two. Just for fun, a question: if you could wave a magic wand or sci-fi wand and have any futuristic tech right now, what would it be?
Oh, beam me up, Scotty.
Teleportation. I like it.
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that wouldn't that be cool? I spent too much time in airplanes. And that would be cool. That's the one that I'd look for.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Clint, for this insight. Stick around for part 2, where we'll be digging into the founder's journey of the many different job roles that Clint has had over the years and the evolution of the company and the story behind it. Thanks again for your time, Clint, and we'll see you on the next episode of UpTech Report.
My pleasure.
Have you seen a company using AI, machine learning, or other technology to transform the way we live, work, and do business? Go to uptechreport.com and let us know.